What's up guys, and welcome to the Crysis 3 review. Now, before I start, you may notice that it hasn't been very long since I got the game that I've reviewed it. Well, that's because it's incredibly short. But, more on that a bit later. Crysis 3 is a first-person shooter. Now, the reason it's different to all the others is two things: class-leading graphics and its flexibility and variation through its gameplay. You essentially have three ways to proceed through the game. You can either go run and gunning in, you can sprint past everything, try and avoid stuff, or you can take the stealthy approach and either kill or not kill people depending on your way of playing. Now, Crysis 3 is better than Crysis 2, I can say that safely. They've innovated and they've done extra things in the game that make it more fun, and it's a bit more open world than the last one, which makes it more fun to play. From turning the game on, you notice that the menus are really nice, they're really easy to use. There are no problems there are plenty of options, and just from starting the story you're engaged really quickly, and it's actually a really nice opening in terms of both graphics and of story. From the opening 5 minutes you also realise that this game does suffer from a few glitches. The first one being with the hacking, and if you rearrange some of your keys, which a lot of you will do, it's very easy to reassign the keys, but the hacking module seems to stop working if you arrange the keys differently. Now, the first door wouldn't open. Now that is bad enough in itself, but you can reassign it later and doors will then start opening. But it's inconsistent and there are ammo caches all over the place that you need to hack into and open, but they don't actually always work remotely if you change your keys around. But if you hack them while being next to them, then they do. And it's just things like that. They don't ruin the game at all, but they don't work as they should, which is quite annoying. And a few other glitches I have discovered with aiming. So if you're aiming over a wall, sometimes it will shoot into the wall for some unknown reason. And the other glitch I noticed was with the power kicking. It didn't always put the object where it should go. So there'd be like a crate or something in the middle of a door and you'll power kick and it will go into the side of the door rather than where you'd think it would go. So it's nothing game breaking, but it is actually quite annoying. But how could you talk about Crysis without talking about the graphics? They said they were going to melt down PCs, and they succeed. The game looks absolutely fantastic on Ultra, absolutely fantastic. There are no graphics like this at all. However, this does take a big toll on your graphic card, but you would expect that. So, a GTX 680 will get 29 to 45 frames per second depending on whether you're indoors and outdoors and ultra settings. However, that's at an FOV of 55, which brings us on to the absent FOV slider. There is an FOV changer, but you have to use a command prompt, and I'll put that in the description below. But it's absolutely mad. The default FOV is on 55, which is not enough. And there's a slider, but you have to go into the console, so why that's there I have no idea, but you can change it to a maximum of 80, which still won't be enough for some people, but for me that's absolutely fine. I would recommend, if you have a high-end system, running the game on ultra settings, but then changing post-processing and shadows from very high to high, and then that gets a constant 60 frames per second on a 1920 by 1200 monitor. If there were Oscars for the best graphics, then Crysis 3 would definitely win. But it's not just the graphics that really impressed me about this game, it's actually the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the campaign is absolutely phenomenal. You know how when you watch the film Inception, the music is just really good and you just really get it? Well, the same sort of thing happens with Crysis. It's quite an epic campaign, as you'd expect. It's like Call of Duty, except good, and they've managed to pull it off, and the music is really good, and I guarantee you will be impressed, and it really immerses you in the game. Which brings us on to the story. The story is quite hit and miss. The campaign is only 8 hours long, which I don't think is enough. It's not enough, but the story itself is hit and miss because some of it's good, but some of it just isn't. For a start, they try and fit way too much in such a short space of time, and you kind of understand what's going on at the start of the story, but by the end it's all happened so quick you're kind of a bit like, what? But the gameplay does make up for this. The gameplay is pretty phenomenal, really. Although some of the things like the hacking doesn't work as they should, the gameplay is really fun. You've got two ways of doing it really. You can just run through all the stuff, but that's not particularly fun. So your best option is to use either stealth or use the armor mode and go a bit all guns blazing. I use a combination. You can just do one if you'd rather, but it's quite nice and it's pretty seamless to go through the two. You've got an energy bar and you can use that for whatever you like. I do like the fact that if you sprint it doesn't use the energy like the other games did, but it's still really fun to play, and there isn't a problem with the gameplay. If you like the Crysis 1 or the Crysis 2 gameplay, then it's only improved here and you're going to have a great time. While the game only does last about 8 hours for the campaign, it does make up for this with the multiplayer. Now, the single player does have multiple difficulties, there are collectibles and stuff, but if you want to play more Crysis, then the multiplayer is where it's at. Loads of different modes. If there was going to be innovation in a game for multiplayer, this would be it. Hunter mode is my favourite, and that's where you have some nanosuit hunters that will have that trademark bow that you've probably seen, versus just some normal cell operatives that just have standard guns, but they don't have any of this nanosuit business. And the hunters are cloaked, and it's a game of cat and mouse, and that's really enjoyable. There are classic modes if you like your classic team deathmatch and stuff, which is still just as fun. But there are quite a few different gameplay modes that are quite different, and you really should give a go. If you're worrying about paying the full price, then the multiplayer probably will justify it for you. And as for PC exclusive features, it's all DX11. There are many video options for you to play about with, but as I said, there is that FOV slider that you have to use the command console for, which is a bit naff. You can use a controller if you want. There are a couple of vehicle sequences that you can use a controller for, but we are disappointed in the fact that they did bring Call of Duty style cutscenes that you have to press X or press left mouse, and it's just why do they do this? Either have a cutscene or don't. It's so frustrating when you're watching this cutscene and then suddenly, oh, press the left mouse button. No, we don't want to do that. We do not want to do that. So, Crysis 3. What it loses marks for in glitches, a short story, and an FOV slider that is bizarre, it does make up for in fantastic graphics, fantastic sound, and absolutely fantastic gameplay. As for repeat value, I think I probably will play it again at a later stage, but it's not exactly got the replay value of something like Far Cry 3. So, what score does it get? Well, it gets a score of 27 out of 32, which gives it a score of 84%. Well deserved, and if you have got a great graphics card, then you should be getting this game anyway. But even if you don't, there are plenty of options, and as I said in my first look, it runs quite efficiently. So even if you have a lower end card, then don't worry, because it will still look fantastic on your system. Thank you for watching this review, and subscribe to me for more videos. I'm putting a lot out at the moment. We're going to keep doing this, going to keep upping the rate of videos. So tomorrow there's going to be an update video, got loads of monitor videos coming up. Stay tuned, keep watching, and thank you.